Hi, you're watching Haryali by Cherry. This is me, Ravneet Kaur. I welcome you to join me on a session of kitchen waste composting today, and I hope I can make this much easier for you. Okay, let's start with the basics. Now, what do I need for composting? For composting, we need a composter. So this is my own DIY composter. I also have a market bought composter, and the DIY composters work perfectly well. So if you don't want to invest a lot, you can start composting in your own DIY composter. So this is a matka or a ghada. It's made up of clay. I got it from a roadside vendor, and what I did was I poked holes around the ghada, and then I poked holes underneath it. I'll just show you the holes which I have. Okay. So yes, if you can see, there are holes underneath it. I hope the holes are visible. What you also need is a plate underneath the compost. So composting is a process wherein we add the greens from our kitchen waste. Greens like banana peels, any peels, whatever peels you have, and even old rotten fruit would also go into your composter. Eggshells would go into your composter. The tea leaves that you have, that you use, would go in your composter. Just clean the tea leaves and make sure the tea leaves don't have a lot of sugar or milk on them, and then you can add it to your composter. Then we have coffee beans. This is coffee waste. I got it from a cafe. We can add this to our composter. So it's a process wherein we make layers between greens and browns, and that's how composting is actually done. So now I have made holes at the bottom, right? So I'm going to cover those holes with the paper, with the newspaper or with some brown paper. I'm going to use brown paper, and I'm going to cover those holes. Initially when I tried, I did not cover the holes. The maggots which are in the composter, they actually come out on the plate, they come out in the leachate, and then it's hard just putting them back. So it's better that we cover the holes because only the leachate will come out, the maggots will not come outside. So now the holes are covered, and now we can start our layering process. Now the browns, what kind of browns can be used? So all the Amazon parcels that you receive, you can use their cardboard and make these small cardboard bits, and you can use these as browns. So Cocopeat is another great brown which we can add into our compost, and this makes composting a lot easier. So if you're a beginner, I would really suggest you to use Cocopeat. You get these Cocopeat bricks from the market, put them in water, they'll soak the water, and then they'll open up and you'll get a nice powder. To use Cocopeat, you can also use dried leaves. You can just crush them. Don't put whole dried leaves, just crush them nicely, and then you can put it in your composter. So I'm going to start with my Cocopeat, layer my composter with some Cocopeat. Let's add in our kitchen waste. Just try and make your layers, don't make them very thick. So there should be small layers of browns, greens, browns, greens. So you have to cut your peels into smaller pieces if you want the composting process to be very fast. If you do not cut them, then the composting becomes a longer process. It's going to take a lot of time to decompose bigger peels. So I always chop my peels. You can see these are chopped, and then I put them in my composter. So that's really, really important, because I actually did not chop them earlier on, and it takes a lot of time to compost. So chopped peels go inside the composter. I'm also going to add in my coffee grounds to this. So if you get these browns in your packing, if you're getting these, you can also compost these. These are a good source of carbon. I'm going to put these in my composter. Just break it down, tear it into smaller pieces, tear this and just put it in your composter. Now let's add in our second layer of greens. You can also add in old soil. I'm adding in some Cocopeat. When we add Cocopeat, the composting process becomes a lot faster as compared to if you are working with dried leaves. So I still need more browns. I'm going to add in old soil. So there's some old soil here. I'm going to add in some old soil. You can add in your cardboard bits if you want, that's completely fine. Now to start our compost, we need to add in some kind of an accelerator. So I'm going to add in some curd. I'm going to add in a spoonful of curd to my compost. We can add in some old compost as an accelerator. You also get some accelerators from Amazon, and I haven't used them. I'm sure they would work fine. So please add in some accelerator. You should be mixing your compost every week or every 10 days. Just remember that you need to mix in your compost, and this is done. After a few days, if you find your compost a little on the drier side, you can just add in a splash of water to make it moist. The compost has to be moist for the microbes to work. So you can add in some water too, just make it moist. Now we cover our composter. I don't want a lot of flies to go inside, so I'm going to cover my compost pile. Just put in a cardboard piece or a newspaper again, or even a fabric cloth would do. Just cover your compost. You can just cover your composter from the top. In case of rains, you can just cover this with a plastic sheet, so as you do not get a lot of water inside, and you can just let your composter be in a corner of your terrace or your balcony, and it's going to work fine. Now the few things to be kept in mind. Firstly, the balance of your nitrogen and your carbon, the greens and the browns has to be right. So if there is a lot of greens, your compost pile might start smelling. So you need to add some more browns, some more cardboard, some more cocopeat, some more dried leaves, and just make the balance of greens and browns right. So it is said that we should not add citrus peels to our composter. I usually add possibly 2 or 3 lemon peels, and not more than that. The rest of my citrus peels actually go into making bioenzymes. Apart from that, I don't add in any milk products. After a few days, when you start composting, you're going to see these big white kind of things. They are these maggots that you can find in your composter. Please don't be afraid. That maggots are actually the ones who help you compost, and they break down all the food matter, and they help with the decomposition process. So please don't be afraid of the maggots. So now the kitchen waste compost is usually ready in 45 to 60 days. The compost would be ready faster if you use Cocopeat, and it would take a few days more if you use some dried leaves, or if you use these cardboard bits. After about 2 months, compost is usually ready. When the compost is ready, you can actually take out the compost, keep it in a shaded corner, and then it's ready to be used after 2 weeks of time. This is some kitchen waste compost which I just harvested, and this is black in color. There is no smell, there are no maggots to be found. I'm going to keep this for around 2 weeks, and then I'm going to use it to give it to my plants. So if this appeals to you, I'm sure you'll start your own kitchen waste composting journey. I hope you enjoyed this session on kitchen waste composting. Until we meet next time, thank you so much.